Right, and they're already hiring for that. And they're moving that dirt. Very good. So, okay, good.
Good. Okay, good morning. We'll call the LDC Governance Committee meeting to order. First item on the agenda is to accept the July 20th, 22 Governance Committee meeting transcript. That was sent out. Everyone had an opportunity to review it, and any modification for sent back to carry. So we'll accept the transcript for the record. Next item on the agenda is to open it up for our meeting up for public comment. Does anyone here would like to address us? They have 5 minutes. We ask that you state your name and address, and the floor is yours.
John Swillig, Binghamton, New York. That's great. 13905.
Yes.
This looks like an end run by county government to add more discretion with the disbursement of these funds that are permitted. Essentially giving you a blank check. I read that as a blank check. You can do anything. So essentially the strings that are on the county as far as with the American Rescue Plan funding disappear when this substantial amount of money comes to you. I don't know really what the purpose of the American Rescue Plan was. It didn't rescue me, but that's not important. You know, this looks like a circumvention of the intent of the law, and it looks shady to me because it's not. I don't see a project. I know you have to have a project in mind, but I would actually like to see, we're accepting $2 million for this, and we're going to do this project with it, because I think that makes a cleaner vote. Because you could literally, once you accept this money, the LDC could do anything it wants to with the money. You could give it to me, you know, for a project. So, you know, I question the county government more than I question you, but you're accepting it. You're stuck with the money, and you're stuck with the accountability for it. So it seems like it doesn't seem far-fetched that a challenge could be made on something like this. That's all. Thank you.
Okay, the next item on the agenda is a review discussion recommendation to authorize the executive director to request American Rescue Plan funds in the amount of $2 million from Broome County, subject to the approval by the Broome County Legislature, for the purpose of economic development, including but not limited to grants and other financial assistance for site development and other economic priorities to advance the interests of the citizens of Broome County.
Yes, well, I can speak to those comments made just a few moments ago. We did receive a request from the county executive. I did confirm that the legislature was also considering this request for the LDC to accept $2 million in funds from the American Rescue Plan for the purposes to support economic development projects. Upon further conversations with the county executive, I received on Monday and subsequently shared with the board, there is a targeted project connected to this. I provided with you, and I will read some of that now, a conversation related to the Huron campus, now owned by Phoenix investors. The funds will be used to support, at the request of the county, the old building group, as it's known, which are the buildings located along McKinley Avenue in the village of Endicott demolition project. I did have a follow-up meeting with Phoenix investors to confirm that this was the intent of the funds based on their conversations with the county. Just a little bit of background on this. The Huron campus in Endicott was sold to Phoenix Endicott Industrial Investors LLC last year. Phoenix has undertaken several site improvement projects, as many of you I'm sure have seen this summer, consisting of painting most of the buildings on the complex, masonry repairs, and other roof replacements, to name a few. The original group of buildings we refer to as the Old Building Group, or OBG, was shut down by Huron in 2007. They've been closed for 15 years with no intent to reuse due to being functionally obsolete. With no heating or cooling for 15 years, the buildings are in a serious state of disrepair. Phoenix has been studying the OBG demo facility. This project and these funds will lay the groundwork for significant economic development and job creation in Broome County. Their intention is to remove these buildings and do the necessary site and infrastructure work to make them ready for a phase 2 redevelopment. They have sought the assistance of Broome County with respect to this project. The county has requested that these grant funds be provided to Phoenix for the purposes of supporting the demolition and other necessary site improvement repairs. If there's any specific questions that governance committee has, I will be happy to answer.
Any questions? I just got two. One, do we know what the total cost of all this whole demolition is going to be? That's something that's a massive project.
Right. I do not have the total cost. Similarly, the county has made the request to us to provide $2 million in grant funds, as we've done with other projects, to our LDC for the purposes of allocation towards their total cost.
Yeah, I mean, that's good to get that shovel ready. I was just kind of sure that's going to be a massive cost. I was just curious what the whole cost would be.
I don't know.
Well, we can ask that. I mean, obviously, this isn't going to cover it. The other question I had was just procedural. Why was it coming before the county legislature approves it? Wouldn't it make more sense to send it after they approve it?
The Economic Development Finance Committee met on the 15th and did advance this for the full board. Really, it was a timing issue. I did speak with the county and the county executive. The county legislature is expected to advance this tomorrow at tomorrow's session. This would expedite the process so that they could put the grant agreement together for the LDC and get the funds dispersed. It was really more of a timing related to the meeting schedule, to be quite honest.
Okay, any questions, other questions?
Just not directly to the motion, but to the project. Do we know if Phoenix has approached the town of Union? They have ARPA funds too.
I don't believe that they have, but I don't know that for sure.
No.
And do we know what their phase 2 redevelopment is, the timeline of that, or what it's going to entail?
There's no project timeline for the demolition. I know there's a scope of work, I can imagine, with abatement and demolition on this has not been provided, but I know there are certainly, they have a number of tenants that have secured leases through the building, Imperium 3, IM3 New York. Part of this has been identified as a need to set IM3 up for their phase 2, which would be the construction of a new facility or additional facility, I should say. They also noted conversations with Ubiquity Solar, who also has secured a lease through the campus. They are in the process, prior to COVID, they were in the process of doing an IPO in Canada where they are based. They have redirected their plans and are securing private financing to set up this solar manufacturing operations at the Huron facility. So some of this phase 2 is to support that growth as well. Right now, they're scheduled to be, or they're planned to be set up in building 258. I'm not sure the familiarity, that's the end of Oak Hill and one of the newer buildings on campus. That building, building 258, also houses CAM, Center for Advanced Microelectronics Manufacturing, owned or leased out by the university. My understanding is that with the $113 million coming to the New Energy New York program, the university is seeking some additional space in building 258. So, you know, it's been this perfect storm of having these empty buildings with all of a sudden you have sort of more uses than you know of. So they've outlined phase 2, mostly geared towards the IM3's growth, but also recognizing that there is other potential users of the campus, but they do feel that, and they did know in my conversation with them, Frank Ravello, who's the founder and president and CEO of Phoenix, his original intent and hope was to keep the buildings and try to restore them, but they said with all that they're just, the cost to do that was just not, they couldn't do that. So they have decided to advance a plan to demolish and do the necessary cleanup for a new build on the site.
Well, you know, the good news is like a lot of times, sometimes, not a lot of times, but sometimes you have a major developer that purchases something like this and it just kind of sits idle.
Mhm.
So the fact that there's this movement and there's this commitment,
Right.
especially in Endicott, which this will change the face of Endicott, obviously, I think it's the fact that they're moving forward aggressively, I think is a good thing, so. Any other comments or questions? At this point? Go ahead.
Question, it was either August or July, asked a question about the old Endicott Forge site. And they said that couldn't be built upon because of,
Yeah, we did through our EPA grant program, we did a phase 1 analysis. We had a meeting prior to that with DEC. And the concern on that is to dig into that site is just not likely a possibility, the contamination in that site.
it's right next door. Is the DEC gonna allow a building there?
I don't know.
Yeah, that's just something
Yeah. I mean,
obvious.
as far as the
It's-
forging site, the plan would be to do something grade level, you know, a supplemental parking
Mhm.
or something where it didn't, you didn't require.
Or you
you weren't
encapsulate
required to
it
do-
somehow.
Yeah, exactly. As far as the McKinley buildings, you know, that we did reach out. I don't think Huron or Phoenix was the owner at the time, but we did reach out to see if we could include those buildings in our phase 1 and phase 2.
Mhm. Yeah.
It was, you know, they did not wish to include those buildings, so we proceeded with our phase 1. I think we're just starting, Brendan, the phase 2 on that, so we'll have more knowledge on what you can and can't do at forging, but our initial review was to dig too deeply into that
Right.
site would not be a possibility, so we would look at doing something surface level ultimately.
I'm all for the project.
Plus EPA is wanting to commit to cleaning it up.
Yeah,
Yeah.
a significant
You never know.
cleanup. And I should know, and I apologize, I'm seeing this now, oh, it does have that, you know, this acceptance is also
Right,
contingent
yeah,
upon,
yeah.
yeah, so. I just
I
wanted
was
to
just
make sure
curious
that
why
was
it
in
was
there. It really, to be, you know, it's just.
the timing issue.
Timing issue, yeah.
Okay, any other questions, or comments? Is there a motion? Second,
Second.
all in favor? Aye. Motion is carried. I think that's all we have on our agenda. Is there a motion to adjourn?
Motion.
Is there a second? Second, Jim, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. They adjourns.